How you guys doing? TF2Dove here, and today I'm bringing to you the Smissmas 2016 update. Now, wow, this update was honestly needed kind of a while back, but to be honest, I'm actually happy it came out at the end of the year. They could have flopped, but they didn't. So I'm going to start off with some of the new things they released or kind of rehashed. The first is that when you sign in, you get a stocking, you get a name tag, description tag, a paint, and a few uncraftable weapons, so that's neat. I can't remember if they didn't have that last year, but they had it this year, and that was great. They brought back the use of festivizers, and I kind of thought they would. However, this time it's not just for skins. They added the Fire Axe, the Jag, the Kritzkrieg, the Pistol, the Quick Fix, the Natasha, the Sandman, the Spicicle, the Kukri, the Shovel, and the Scottish Resistance. I'm not sure how they decided these, but it's a lot of melees, a lot of the good medic ones, so I'm happy about that. I'm still hoping for a festive syringe gun, but alas, there was none. And the festivizers this year, you get them as a bonus drop when you open a cosmetic case. So on top of all this, there are 17 or so new cosmetics in this case. The items in the Manco store are now discounted between 25 to 75% off, but I would not recommend buying them. It's kind of a ripoff. And the thing we've all been waiting for, they fixed casual mode. Alright, so bear with me. They added a map vote system, so at the end there isn't a rematch anymore. You get 3 maps to vote on based on your server selection. And what this means is that if you and I both go into the same server and we both have the same pool of maps, it'll pick the most picked maps out of the pool and put them in the top 3 that you can vote for. Not only that, they've added a maximum acceptable ping, and as you can see on the screen here, you're basically allowed to pick your region. So if I want to stay East Coast, I can do that. So that's amazing. I'm no longer going to a server in the middle of India or any other country that is not nearby. And that's great, because now lag won't really be an issue. And this also extends to competitive mode, so as long as you're willing to wait out the queues, you will have local competitive and casual matches. Not only that, but for casual, there is auto-balance volunteering. Now this is amazing. However, there is one slight bug, which I'll touch on later. But now you're allowed to volunteer to go onto the other team if the game is unbalanced. And now it seems that it's considered unbalanced if one team is 2 members down. And you're allowed to volunteer to go on the other team, and it gives you 150 points. Or 150 experience, and it's quite dandy. And they also fixed a lot of bug fixes, which are long overdue, but nonetheless they happened. The first one is, it's a little bit confusing. I'm not entirely sure if I understand it, but it fixes not clearing the teleport condition for players who have their teleport interrupted before the teleport is complete. Now this means one of 2 things. One is for sure, I'm not so sure about the other. I believe it means you can't telefrag after you die. So basically you used to be able to go into a teleporter, die, still technically get teleported and kill someone on the other end while being dead. And also what this does is that you're not allowed to use a teleporter before a match starts and then end up outside of the spawn rooms before the match starts in like a 5 CP, something like that. Another thing they fixed is the Delocos bar. You're not allowed to use it to get a health overheal on all the other classes, which is quite dandy because it was a little bit broken, but not really that abusable, just a very small minor thing. And a very festive one, they made it so that you're now able to transfer your strange counters from Girardi and Sappers if they're festive. Before you weren't able to do so because it was a little bit weird. And they fixed a fair amount of bugs with Pastime and Man vs. Machine thanks to Zigzag. And they fixed a lot of bugs on Player Destruction Watergate, which is the map with the aliens in the beer, if you remember that. They also did make a small amount of changes to matchmaking. They made it so that Granary and Badlands are back in the map queue, and they disabled Snake Water and Foundry. And to be honest, I was actually kind of a fan of Snake Water, but I can see why they did it. And they also added the new voice codec into all Valve servers, which is really good for matchmaking because voices will sound a lot clearer and will have less latency. And they also added ESA Rewind Tournament medals, and that is a great thing because they're encouraging more people to do comp-related things. However, I'm not entirely sure if they announced it in the first place on their blog, but they might have. And now that's all the changes I decided to focus on. Odds are if you want to get specifics on the cosmetics, you can look in a trader's video, but the one cosmetic I want to announce is the Santa Comedes. I don't quite know how to say it, but it's beautiful, it's got a beard, I made sure to get one as soon as I could, and it's strange, so it's just beautiful. And here are a few things I feel like Valve still needs to do before they push on to the Pyro update, or if they would include these in the Pyro update. To start, you need to have people be able to join friends' games, because you still can't join a game that's in progress from a friend's profile, which makes it kind of the feeling of pubs isn't quite back. It's getting there, but you still need to be able to join your friends' games that are in progress. Number 2, you also need to make it so that in matchmaking, you don't have graphical limitations so people aren't playing with potato FPS. Next was the thing I mentioned earlier. Some of the UI elements for their map choice and auto balance are a little bit buggy, and I'll quickly explain. The map choice one is very simple. When that pops up, you can't see the top 2 people on the scoreboards for each team because it blocks their names and some of their stats, so just make it some way where you can close out of that after you vote. Very simple. And the other thing is that the UI element to volunteer to auto balance is actually considered to be hidden if you have a little option checked, which makes it so that if you disable trade messages or event messages in game, you cannot see the volunteer thing to change teams, which basically means you can't volunteer to auto balance if you're not willing to see notifications, which is, I think, a little bit of an oversight, but it's a pretty big deal. All in all, this was Smissmas 2016, and honestly, I would say it's probably one of the best updates of the year. They definitely should have done some of this stuff sooner, but I'm not complaining. It's honestly, in comparison to the rest of 2016, it's the best update. Polished as of yet. I haven't found any bugs besides the UI ones. So good job, Valve. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in a future video. So take care, guys.